My name is Matt Iavani. I'm going to show you how private equity value creation teams can leverage Clay.com to make truly transformational changes within their portfolio of sales and marketing programs. First thing I always start with, because I've been asked this question by a number of PE value creation team partners, is what is Clay? How does it relate to my job? What do we do with it? So obviously your job is to drive impact across multiple companies. There's not one go-to-market team. You're dealing with tool sprawl. If you work in private equity right now and you are trying to make sense of this, you have 20 years of people buying technology, hiring lots of people, and creating pretty much undocumented tribal knowledge-based processes that are incredibly hard to understand. And so the question really isn't like, what is Clay? The question should be like, how do you use Clay to create repeatable leverage within your portfolio? Big thing here, I try to start with like, what is Clay? There's a humongous misconception about what this tool is in the market. Clay is a data operations and workflow automation platform. It connects over 165 different data sources, things like CRM systems, agentic platforms like a ChatGPT, a Gemini, Anthropic, every conceivable sales and marketing tool or data source, ZoomInfo, Apollo, pretty much everything that's in your normal go-to-market stack soup that's out there in the market is interoperable with Clay. Most organizations know Clay because they have heard about automated outbound prospecting, which is something that email marketing agencies use Clay for as a really big part of their like 2024 plans. That's where Clay started to get tons of recognition. My advice to folks is do not think about Clay like outbound. Do not think about it as just enrichment. It is an environment. It is like Excel. I try to think about Clay like it's a guitar. The reality is it all depends on the player. The common failure that we're seeing out there is that organizations may have already bought Clay. They will have bought some credits. There wasn't a lot of ownership. There was some shallow use cases around automated outbound or trying to enrich some data. And then that's just going to be sort of tool churn and obviously an operational failure. Your success is going to require that you have a use case, an owner, and you have a pathway to enable Clay. So when you think about value creation pillars, this is how we think about it at Full Funnel. The first is that you're going to have a data foundation, which is where most of your initial value is going to come from. Like everything in private equity is all ROI. Like, hey, I'm going to make this investment. What's the ROI on this? Well, the reality is your current data construct, there is very little consistency with any data operation that we've seen. And everything is just a mosh posh of bad data caused by you giving LinkedIn Sales Navigator to every SDR team and account management team where they're just importing lots of contacts, then decay 3 to 5% a month, or pulling massive lists from ZoomInfo and taking an MQL list from God knows where. So the first thing is that if you're going to do any AI initiative, you're going to have any go-to-market function that makes any sense, you have to get your database in order. Things like hygiene and completeness is solved with Clay. You can do account and parent-child mapping with Clay. You can do territory planning with Clay. Really, really cool way of doing dynamic territory planning. It will save you the, $500,000 with the Alexander Group every year to go through that process. Having ICP inputs and segmentation consistency and just really making sure that everything downstream of your database gets easier because the data is where it's supposed to be, it's accurate, and it is trusted. The second pillar is going to be all around growth expansion. This is where you can do some really cool stuff. We do things like account identification, wide scale enrichment. We can do personalization, outbound and inbound enablement. We can do market expansion analysis. We can do life cycle programs, reactivation, cross-sell, so on and so forth. The third pillar is going to be reducing manual operations work. Most organizations have the majority of their revops, sales ops, marketing ops staff doing reactive work. This is going to reduce the requirement for those teams to be doing reactive work. They can do more forward thinking and strategic work. You're going to avoid having to keep incrementally adding headcount to your endpoint labor. Think SDRs, account executives, account managers, CS personnel, etc. You're going to speed up your experimental cycles. This is hugely important. Clay as an R&D tool is probably the coolest use case because you can try things at scale for very little input costs with high levels of sophistication and granularity. It's extremely important. And then you're going to get more output per SDR, per AE, per marketer that you have on your existing employee roster. When you think about adoption, usually we're seeing this led in a portco-led adoption cycle. Clay is owned by the revops or go-to-market function inside of that company. The value creation team at the PE level sort of sponsors, guides that process. We do see some value creation teams that are centralizing it. They're not hands-on keyboard. They're certainly not doing the work, but they're taking a more sort of central role in sort of orchestrating the adoption of the tool set. When you think about Clay and how it's supposed to be supported, and this is really Clay or N8N or any of these advanced automation environments, is you want to think about a three-legged stool. If you're going to adopt this type of technology, number one, if you're using Clay, you're most likely going to be on an enterprise plan due to the size of sort of PE investments. Clay will dedicate a CS support resource to you to be your person for platform support, education, and enablement. Secondly, you want an internal owner. There's got to be someone on your roster, whether it's someone you train up from sales ops, marketing ops, or rev ops, or you hire a new person, and that person is supposed to be able to sort of deal with the continuity of the existing workflows in Clay. And then lastly, you're going to want an external builder or partner. Clay has an extensive partner network. Full Funnel is one of their elite studio partners, one of the top 5 in the world. And the idea here is that we are here to do time to value exercises, build really complex stuff really quickly, and to be able to sort of build those next gen use cases. And it's all about speed to results. Now, when you think about who does what in that sort of process, Clay is going to be doing the enablement, doing things like educating your team about best practices, troubleshooting, ongoing support, but they're hands-off keyboard. Internal operators are supposed to be prioritizing what you're working on. They're supposed to be doing day-to-day operation, and they're supposed to be working within the sort of governance function of Clay and these workflow automation tools. Your partners, like a Full Funnel, build accelerant integrations into complex APIs or interoperability challenges, building complex systems, and frankly, just jump-starting progress. What we can build at Full Funnel in 30 days would take a normal team probably 6 to 12 months. When you think about ROI, because everything is framed within ROI in a context, the first is all about time savings. You are spending tons of money on labor. All of that labor converts to 40 to 50 hours per week. If we're able to reduce the time that these people are spending doing things like manual research, list building, enrichment, any of this that's non-core sales or revenue generating activity, that is a massive give back in ROI on that function. You will not need to keep adding staff. That is a huge component of this. We can usually exponentially increase the production rate of an account manager, an account executive, an SDR, so on and so forth. Less people, more production. And everything is going to be faster and more efficient due to the ability to leverage this sort of scalable technology. Usually what we're seeing inside of private equity organizations is that they're going to select 1 or 2 sort of portcos that are mature enough to sort of handle a new product or function. We're going to start with a data engine build. You can click above if you want to check out what a data engine looks like. This is the most common place to start. Full Funnel has a really good handle on how to build data engines that solve the data problem, leveraging Clay. You're going to build out things like playbooks and templates, transition ownership over to internal resources to get that sort of three-legged stool going on. And then from that point, you just expand selectively. Now, to take the next step and learn more about the applications of clay.com, there are 3 videos that we've created that I think you should watch. The first being our data engine video that shows how you build a foundational data construct leveraging Clay to make sure databases stay up to date, squeaky clean, highly valuable indefinitely. Second would be our fully autonomous recruiting process. We built that with Clay. That is a really interesting use case where we show you how to use clay.com in a recruiting context. Third is going to be our fully autonomous content marketing program using Clay and N8N, a really advanced use case looking at replacing what is a traditional content marketing function within a marketing group with a more technology first function. My name is Matt Iavani, and I hope to be working with your private equity organization and your portfolio companies very soon. Thank you.